So yeah, I was in this kind of outwardly appearing very privileged position, but inwardly not really feeling that anything meant anything. And that there was moments of pleasure, and there wasn't sadness or anything like that. I mean, it was just kind of a kind of mundane kind of existence with pockets of joy and excitement, which is fine, but I felt there was a real kind of lacking, and that there was something else to life that I wasn't quite able to tap into. So yeah, I decided to give it all up, and I left London. I left my relationship, which I've been in for 13 years, and I left this very cushy, well-paid job. And I decided that I'd planned to set up my own business, and part of that I needed to kind of experience in, and I didn't really want to go back to uni because I'd already done 2 degrees. And I thought, well, I could probably do this by kind of volunteering and working in organizations which I'd found in Europe. So I decided to take 3 months out and go off and do that. Long story short, that 3 months became 2 years. And in those 2 years, I think I spent a total of 6 months living and working in Buddhist centers. And one of those Buddhist centers was in upstate New York, run by a guy called Robert Thurman, who's quite well known. Actually, he's a Buddhist academic and an author. And actually, he's the father of Uma Thurman, which I don't think many people know. But yeah, so I worked with him for about 4 months at this center, which was amazing. He was a very interesting guy, but part of my deal with being there was I got to attend some courses, and there was a course that was being run by this woman called Isa Gucciardi, and just being on that course was completely transformative for me. She seemed to kind of evoke a mystery and an otherworldliness that I think kind of met this mundane feeling I was having, like to feel that there was something beyond this, that there was something I couldn't really comprehend and understand, really fascinated me. And also the way in which she was, I found really inspiring. There was a calmness and a kind of confidence and a knowingness to her, but an openness and a real expansiveness to her. And yeah, she kind of embodied this real kind of shamanism to me. And obviously she was a Buddhist, but she kind of dabbled in a lot of things, shamanism being another thing. So yeah, she was just a real inspiration to me. And so when I ended up leaving that place and coming back to London, I decided that I was going to do a philosophy course in Buddhism, because it was something I'd done. And I should probably add that I had been doing meditation for years, but I kind of treated it in like a vitamin pill, that's something you did because it was about wellness and something you did for your mental health, which it was, but the experiences I had were fueled by that, I guess. And it was it was just more, there was nothing kind of mystical about it, or it was just very mechanical, I guess. And so I got to London and I started to look for Buddhist philosophy courses and couldn't find anything until I found a course at the LBC on meditation, an introduction to meditation and Buddhism is what it was called. And I thought, well, I know the meditation stuff, but I can't find anything else, so I'll go along. And so I just started to go to these classes, and the way they were teaching the meditation and the way they were incorporating Buddhist philosophy into that was just gripping to me. And I would go along pretty much every night that there was a class on and sit there kind of like a right swotty little student, actually, right at the front of the class, just soaking it all in. And every teacher, I just, my kind of jaw was on the floor at all these teachings and how they seem to resonate and start to kind of break away this kind of existential belief system that I was holding on to and still hold on to. I can't say I've completely changed that, but it was just opening up another way of living, which certainly wasn't surface and certainly wasn't mundane. And I think on my second retreat, the first one had been a kind of introduction to meditation over a short weekend, and I honestly came away with it feeling completely claustrophobic and like I'd never want to go back to a retreat again. But I had a conversation with one of the teachers at the Buddhist center, and I said, I don't know whether to go back, this is like for 10 days, this next one, and it's in silence and it just feels really intense. And she was really open. She went, just go, you can, you'll live it, basically. And I went along, and it was just, I remember describing it to folk and saying it will simultaneously broke my mind and fixed it. I'm still fixing it, but that's how I remember describing it. And that was it. I was kind of hooked, and from there, I started to read more, and I started to volunteer and become more involved in the Buddhist center, and then heard about this mitra, which I wasn't, sure of, quite far into going to the Buddhist center, and took a long time to actually come to the decision to find out whether it was right. And had again spoke to a lot of teachers, and I got a really good bit of advice actually from Maitreya Bandhu. And I said to him, is it enough for me to want to become a mitra if it's about bringing value and meaning to this life? And he took a long time to think about it actually, and came back to me a few days later, and he said, honestly, Jenny, no, it's not enough. He said, you really want to be a Buddhist. I said, I don't know what that means. I don't know what a Buddhist is. It seems so many things to so many people. And he went, here, go and read these books. And he said, there was one by Bhante on something to do with, I can't remember what it's called, but tantric creativity or something like that. And I read books and thought about it and talked to people, and I came to the decision that I did want to be a Buddhist, and still not quite fully clear what that is, but that it's a process of discovery, and that's all right. It was wonderful, that ceremony, doing the mitra ceremony, and a really precious one that I could involve other people into. I haven't looked back, and I've now actually a year after becoming a mitra, decided that I wanted to join the order, so asked for ordination, and so now I'm on that process of training for ordination, which is challenging but wonderful. It's a bumpy road, and it's certainly not easy, but ultimately it's been massively nourishing and fruitful for me, and I can't see living my life in any other way. That is my little journey to becoming a mitra.
Thank you very, very much, Jenny. That's fantastic. There's a bit of appreciation. Well, I just know, and when you were talking about some of those things, I don't know if it's because we're doing the Metta Bhavana, but it's heartwarming, just heartwarming. So thank you very, very much for sharing that with us. It takes me back to why what my journey was. So thank you very much.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. And actually, Jenny she's in Edinburgh, and they're all full of festival stuff up there. So, she's not going to stay the whole event, but she's going to. You've got something at 12, haven't you? Have you?
At 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. So thank you very, very much for sharing your journey with us, Jenny. It's really, really lovely. So I hope it's not going to be too much, but we've got another 2 of these. So it might be a bit full, but Edan is also agreed and offered to. So you're going to come forward, and I mean, what the interesting thing is, we each are different. You know, we each kind of come to whatever path we're working differently. So, Edan, shall I hand it over to you?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Well, I'm not even a mitra. I'm really in the beginning of my journey in many ways. But definitely it had a big effect on me. I come from a family where everything is quite matter of fact and very practical, and kind of you do what you need to do, and I kind of grew into that, and it was very career oriented, I guess, and trying to find meaning in external things a lot. And I think when Buddhism came into my life is when I moved here 7 years ago. I moved to London from Israel, and me and my ex, we lived in a tiny little house with a 9-month pregnant woman and her partner, and it was very, very stressful moving, living in this tiny apartment with all these people, and she had this book called Buddhism and Motherhood, and I remember reading it, and because before that I thought, Buddhism, that's some hippy dippy bullshit. And just reading it, and kind of like some dimes dropped, and like this basic things, like kind of understanding that maybe whatever, however I'm expressing my emotions isn't the reason I think it is. So for instance, like when I get angry at my partner, maybe actually it's not something that she did, but maybe it's something that I'm feeling inside, and then I'm just externalizing it towards her. So this kind of like very basic understanding, and it was a big dime drop moment for me. And yeah, that kind of was my first introduction. And I think since then, after that, I kind of put it aside, and we did like dip into it. And I remember coming a few times here, but throughout the years, I kind of let go of that. I had it, I guess, in the background. I'd read a book here and there. But then about a year ago, I actually went to a shamanic retreat. And that was incredibly powerful for me. And I ended that retreat feeling very grounded and very clear and very trusting of the universe. And I never felt that before. Let go of so much control, just feeling like I let go of a lot of control in my life, not trying to control everything. But then after that, I was like, okay, what do I do now? How do I sustain this? Okay, I had this glimpse, but like, what do I do? So I was in the journey then, and one of the first things I did is come to the Buddhist center, and from there I started volunteering twice a week, coming twice a week, and practicing on my own. And I think that it was very powerful for me. Just the realization that actually you live your life now. It's not some external thing that's going to happen in the future, or your happiness won't happen when you achieve certain things. And that you can kind of like take stock of what's going on inside, and just be more aware of where you are, how you're doing, be more open towards other people. Yeah, all these understandings were very powerful for me, and they really helped me. It was a really amazing tool for me, and I think where it expressed itself the most is when me and my partner separated. We were together 14 years, married 14 years. And I think that for me, I use that separation as a kind of practice, because I think that's the only way that I could deal with it. And I think maybe one of the reasons I went into the separation is because of crutch of Buddhism. And the way I did it is really to feel the pain when the pain comes up, be aware of what's going on inside, to be able to cry. Also not to frame myself as this poor guy going through this divorce, you know, like I'm not this poor guy. I have difficulty in my life. I can connect to that difficulty, and then I can go out and it's a beautiful sunny day and feel good. And that practice was so great for me. And also not to think about the future in this like, oh, I'll be alone forever, catastrophizing, understanding that that's only stories. It's only I'm telling myself all these horror stories because I'm afraid. It was such a powerful tool for me, and it helped me do it, basically. And then one day I was volunteering here, and I saw a little ad, a flyer that a Buddhist community was looking for a housemate, and I sent the email, and somehow I got into this community. And for me, that happened 3 months ago or 4 months ago, and it's been a beautiful journey, and just living a life where I meditate every day for an hour, and we run the house in kind of by Buddhist philosophy. We share, we help each other, we communicate clearly. It kind of changed the way that I see the world, and the way that I see how I communicate, how I see other people, living a more moral life. And yeah, I think that it really put me in a place where I feel the best I've ever felt. I have good days and bad days, but I feel like with the tools I got, I can balance myself better. I can deal with things better. Not everything is some kind of thing I'm resisting or trying to control. Just the experience of life is much more pleasurable and much more connected, grounded, flowy, and yeah, and I'm excited about continuing my journey. So that is my story.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Should do this more often. Okay. Breathe out. Let's just breathe and get that in. Yeah, thank you for your honesty. Really, it's lovely. I think that's really what. Yeah, one of the things I get from it is that we can, we learn to be more honest and make more honest to ourselves, our lives. Can we do any more? Okay, one more. Nisha's going to share something with us. Nisha's feeling a little bit anxious about this, so come on, you'll be fine. It's all good. Graceful now. So Nisha's part of the team here, and I'm just going to hand it over to you. Is that okay?
Yeah. So I've got a bit worried last night, so I wrote a load of stuff at about midnight, and I don't know if it's going to come out very coherently, but I will have a go. So I thought I'd start with the first time I was asked to meditate. I had a coach for work stuff, and they were like, just try and be quiet for 2 to 3 minutes and just listen to what's going on around you and be present in your body. And I was like, are you crazy? 2 to 3 minutes when I could be thinking, I could be solving all my problems. And I just was like, I'm just going to sit here and listen to the aircon. I thought it was totally crazy. So I was a bit reluctant to begin with, but then I gradually found that there was this like nice quiet space that you get to when you do that, and that all the sort of worries and the am I doing this wrong or that right, and maybe I'd be happier if I did this, or blah, 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 just kind of goes away for a little while. And that was what attracted me to it. And then I was in India for a couple of months, and I was hoping to do a yoga teacher training, and the one that I could afford was not available. So I ended up on this Vipassana retreat instead, which I'd heard about. And kind of what appealed was, in a way, the same sort of things I always go for. So it was like quite regimented, 10 hours meditation a day, no dinner, and you can't move for like 1 hour every now and then, and totally silent. Also, it was free. And I was like, great, bring it on. So I did this thing, which was really great. And at the end, I was like, well, never doing that again. But like, glad I shut up for 10 days. And actually, the being quiet isn't the hardest thing after all. Actually, it's there are other things that were hard. And so yeah, I went from that and was like, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. But then I just always got drawn back to it. After about 6 months, the first time, I was just like, oh, that kind of calmness and spaciousness and being able to see more clearly has just sort of gone. Well, I want that back. Oh crap, I have to go and do that meditation retreat thing again. So I was like, go off and do it. And then it became a thing that I did every year, and I volunteered a bit, and I did it for like 13 years or so. And I just want to say here that for me, the path was meditation. I wasn't actually attracted to Buddhism. And it's interesting that everyone has brought, in a way, that up, because like for me, the practices aren't necessarily Buddhist. They're just, some of it's really common sense. So like, if you're quiet, you just notice that there's something watching. You can see your breath, or you can see feelings on your body. And the idea of impermanence that is being taught about, like we know scientifically that our bodies renew themselves every 6 years, your eyebrows renew themselves every 4 months. So for me, it was like I wasn't really attracted to the Buddhist part of it, but there was something in me that was just constantly just kind of needed it and kept coming back to it. But then I got a bit burnt out. So I'd been living in sub-Saharan Africa for 5 years, and I knew that I needed to clear my head again. But I just couldn't face another 10-day retreat, and I knew that I wasn't in the right place to go and do it. I mean, I wanted a retreat, but not one that was in a way that mean. So I sort of snuck onto a Triratna retreat. That's where we are, in a Triratna centre. And I was like, this is like, basically I had very much deeper, in a way, meditation experiences than I'd had on these other retreats. And I was like, this is amazing. I'm allowed to eat dinner, have toast whenever I want, basically, and can sleep. And I guess what I realized is that there's like a softer side of it. Actually, the Metta Bhavana is something that we did today, and Ratna Prabhu explained that in the earliest forms of Buddhism, like it's not strongly emphasized, but actually that softness is, for me, very important as well. It's not turning meditation into another thing to beat myself up with, isn't very helpful. And so there are other ways of kind of accessing that spaciousness. And so I guess kind of what I'm saying is there's all different ways, and everyone finds their own way. And for me, at the moment, definitely, and why I've become a mitra is that I've realized that I do need sangha, or community. I want to be with other people who have seen something different and do want to see in this way, and do kind of want to. I mean, it's not nice acknowledging things like impermanence. It's like, that means all my happy moments will pass. It also means all my sad moments will pass. So just finding other people who are seeing in this way and willing to do this has been really important, and finding ways to be softer with myself. And I guess one of the things that I did when we were given topics, one of the things was like to talk about things that were bad about Buddhism. And so some of the things that haven't been great have been like, I think I get it. Like I thought I got every time I went on a Vipassana retreat, I thought I got it, I'd be like, oh man, I've been doing it wrong, which is obviously my story as well. But there's always something more to learn. And then coming here, I was like, God, there's this whole metta bhavana thing. And then there's other stuff. And so there's always more to learn, but in a way that's a good thing. And it leads you to make, well, it's leading me to make different choices. The choice to sit every day is a choice that many of you have already made, but that's giving up extra time that you might have done other things with. For me personally, I've lived abroad for most of my career, and choosing to be here and be around a community of people who practice is increasingly important. But then I have these, like, my catastrophizing is, I'm giving up a great international development career and I'm going to run out of money, and even McDonald's won't let me work for them. And like, I just have these like panics. It's like, I don't know really where that comes from. So, I mean, I guess that's also all part of the impermanence, is you can think, oh, this is great and I get it. And then the next minute you're like, what am I doing? It's like, I think that's just all part of it. And in a way, the only thing that can encompass that is just accepting that everything changes all the time, and you just have to keep coming back to whatever works for you and helps you to move forward in a positive and productive way, whatever that is for you. And for me, there's definitely something really important in quietening my mind and coming to myself. And something that's really important in this tradition that I was missing was, I was observing sensations and impermanence in my body, but I wasn't really feeling my emotions. And it's really interesting to hear people talking about their emotions and their feelings. And although that's kind of harder and a bit more abstract, I think it's really important. And I'm kind of missing something if I think I'm being aware, but I'm not actually willing to check in and go, what's, some people call it the weather, like, what's my weather like today? Like, what am I feeling inside? And I used to think that was really egotistical. But actually, if I don't check in with myself, and this is something I realized in development work, if I don't check in with myself and look after myself, if I just spend my whole time feeling bad about everyone else and poverty in the world, then I actually can't really give as much as I can if I just connect with my own emotions and sense where I am. So yeah, so I just feel like it's really lucky. I think it's great in this world, in the West in particular, we've got all these different traditions, and it's really great to find something that works for you. So if you're here and you like it, it's good to think about why, whatever it is you're getting from this. And that's it.